Do you love the look of film photography, but you're just not quite sure where to start? In this video, I'm giving you my favorite tips on how to start shooting film properly so that you can avoid costly mistakes and start creating beautiful, beautiful film images. If you want to see more information on photography, marketing, and a little bit of my life thrown into the mix, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when my videos go live every Friday at 9 a.m. Over the years, I have had many digital photographer friends who have loved the look of film, but were just a little too intimidated or frightened to start their journey with film. After all, it can be very daunting and quite costly if you don't know what you're doing or where to start. With my help, I've been able to help them get out of their comfort zone and start shooting film more confidently and more frequently. And now it is your turn, so let's dive in. So my first tip for you is to go slow. Learning to shoot film is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You have to learn how to pace yourself if you're going to do it properly. One of the areas where you really need to learn how to pace yourself is with the actual process of taking pictures with film. As you can imagine, shooting film is not a cheap endeavor, and if you're transitioning from digital, you're probably used to having many SD cards that you can just shoot and shoot and shoot over and over again on top of. But with film, you can't do that. Going from unlimited images on a digital SD card to only 16 or 35 images per roll of film can be quite a big shift. Therefore, I highly recommend that you start slow when you first start shooting film. Take your time and enjoy the process of finding the best angles or the perfect lighting and location, and enjoy the entire process of shooting film. Putting time and thought into your images allows you to be a lot more intentional about what you are shooting. Intentional about what exactly it is that you're shooting and what you want your final outcome to be. My second tip for you is to start with 35mm film. My advice is to stick to 35mm film. With 35mm, the cameras are often a lot more inexpensive, and with 36 or 35 images per roll of film, you have a lot more breathing room to experiment and relax and shoot. When you're shooting medium format film, you have a lot less room to experiment. Each roll of film is 16 images only, and sometimes it's 12 depending on what camera you use. And that's less than half of what you would get if you shoot 35mm film. When you start shooting 35mm film, you get a lot more bang for your buck because you get double the amount of images that you were to get if you were to shoot medium format. And when you're first starting out, you really need that little extra wiggle room to figure out how you're shooting and whether it's working or not. My third tip for you is to use a professional lab. When I started shooting film, I only used my local Walgreens that was right around the corner from my apartment. They were still doing one-day turnaround for film, and that was actually how I started my journey. But after sending several rolls of film to Walgreens and getting not really good results back, I was starting to get a little frustrated. My images from Walgreens just weren't turning out well. They didn't look anything like how other people's film images on Instagram looked. I got so frustrated with the images that I got from Walgreens that I ended up giving up my film journey for several months. So take it from me when I say that sending your film rolls to a professional lab is so important. Especially when you're first starting out with shooting film. You need all of the feedback that you can possibly get. And every single roll counts when you're learning a new technique. The first time that I sent my film rolls to a professional lab, I was absolutely blown away by the amazing results that I got back into my inbox. I use the Professional Lab Photo Vision prints, and I highly recommend that you check them out. They do fantastic work, and I have been with them ever since the beginning of my film journey. Number 4, ask questions. This was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made in the very beginning of my film journey. I could have cut my trial and error down by so much if I had just had the courage to reach out and ask questions from other fellow film photographers. And one of the best places to ask questions is with your professional film lab. Your professional film lab is trained and specialized, and frankly, they know what they're doing. If you're looking to achieve a specific look when it comes to film, they are definitely the people to ask, especially when it comes to working towards and achieving your own personal goals with film. And not to toot my own horn, but I might know a thing or two about film, so you can always reach out to me as well if you have any questions. What is your biggest question when it comes to film? Leave your questions in the comments below and let's help each other out and build a community here on my channel. Number 5, shoot one roll at a time. This is super important. When I first started with film, I was so excited and I went crazy when it came to shooting with film. I shot so many rolls of film only to realize that I had been shooting them on a cheap $20 camera from eBay that was actually broken. And it's safe to say that pretty much none of those images came out. And I was so disappointed because I had wasted all those rolls of film on a broken camera, when instead the alternative would have been to shoot one roll of film, and then I would have only wasted one roll as opposed to 5 or 6 of what I had shot. So trust me when I say only shoot one roll of film at a time. And I know it can be hard to only shoot one roll because you get so excited and you just want to shoot all the things. But take it from me when I say that you really want to hone in on how well you're doing and whether or not you're making mistakes and where you can really refine your ability when it comes to shooting film. And you really need to do that by only shooting one roll at a time so that you can avoid any costly mistakes. If I could start my entire film journey over, I would start over by only shooting one roll of film in each film stock and going to different locations and different lighting scenarios and really experiment and find out what resonated with me and what look I really liked when it came to shooting film. Number 6, manual focusing. If you're transitioning from shooting digital, you probably already heavily rely on using autofocus. Digital cameras nowadays have amazing quality when it comes to focusing really fast. But unfortunately, when it comes to film cameras, because they are a lot on the older end, you're not gonna get that speed when it comes to focusing. And I can't tell you how many shots that I've missed because I've tried to rely on an old mechanism on my old film camera to autofocus on subjects. I can tell you that I'm a lot more efficient and a lot faster when it comes to shooting when I use manual focus with my film cameras. If you're not used to shooting manual focus, it can be a bit of a change, okay? So take it slow. But I promise that you'll find that trusting your own eye and what focus you are feeling works well with your camera is gonna be a lot better payoff in the long run. I really recommend practicing manual focus even if you're not really shooting. Just pull out your camera and test out the focusing. Test out how close you need to be to a subject to get it really crisp and in focus. And once you start practicing, I promise it'll become second nature just like that, I promise. Alright friends, so now you are ready to start shooting film, but you might be wondering what film stock should you genuinely start with? Well, fear not, because I have written a PDF just for you that goes over all of my favorite film stocks and where to buy them. Everything from professional film to just everyday casual film shooting. And you can download this entire guide for free when you click the link in my description box and become a part of the email newsletter family. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and comment down below what your biggest takeaway was. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you in the next video.